Hello, everyone who is apparently live here. If you are, this is actually going out to you. Can you just like drop something in the chat that says so? Because I am very confused. I see nothing on my screen. Are people
I see
saying
Renee
things?
saying hi.
Amazing. Well, I'm just gonna go blind then today, and say I'm hanging out with my friend Adam with January Joy, the Claire and my month long event at joyfulgrowthclub.com or .substack.com. Adam, before we get into it, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Adam Ming. When I turned 40, I remembered that 11-year-old me wanted to be an artist and an illustrator and an author. And so 40 is like quite into it in life. And I figured that if I don't do it now, I'll probably regret it at 50. So I better start. And I did. And since then, I've illustrated 17 books. 14 or 15 of them are out. And yeah, I'm talking to a publisher about an authored book, so that's exciting.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I felt that way about my 20s. I was like, I'm never going to be this poor again, hopefully. So if I'm going to take really dumb decisions, I should do it now that I have no expectations for comfort. And so, like, they all failed miserably. But by the time I hit 30 and I had to get a real job, I was like, okay, I kind of know at least what I shouldn't be doing.
Right.
Uh,
Exactly.
Yeah, so January Joy is all about joy in January, shockingly. And so we talked a little bit before the thing, but I wanted to like, how do you think about like what's bringing you joy these days?
I think just being able to do the thing. Like I started 4 or 5 years ago, and that was like a transition, like getting a part-time job so I can pursue this illustration thing. But now just showing up at the studio every day and deciding what I get to do. Like maybe today's Substack, tomorrow's illustrating a book, and just being able to organize that. And like one day I'm working from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. And the next day I'm like maybe waking up at 5. It's 5 now to do a call with you. And I'll be working in the morning and I'll have the day off. So having that flexibility has been the dream. And so, yeah, being able to do that brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah, I love that because when people would tell me, when people would say things like, it would say like, "Oh, you must work really hard," or "How do you work so hard?" Or like, and I would say, "I am way lazier than you, for sure, 100%." Like, I found systems and things to do so that when I work, it gets me a lot of leverage. But like, I'm not like sitting here nose to the grindstone. I'm going to go to a movie literally right after this. I'm going to a movie. And like this is before this, I was just dicking around all morning. So like that's what I love about entrepreneurship too, is you can like set your own schedule, but also like you can set your own interest most of the
Yep.
time.
And part of the joy is like taking some time off for yourself, going for a swim with the kid or going to play tennis when you want to. I think like the biggest sap of joy is just having to be someplace for no reason.
Yeah. But this is
Like
why
work's not
yeah, this is why
good.
I generally like try to I don't like coaching. It's not because I don't like coaching. I actually love coaching. I think it's great. But like when someone books a time with me, I'm like, "Oh my god, I now have to be there at that
Right.
time." And I don't know. That's not enough money to commit me to this time. I'm probably going to be fine to be there at that time, but like what if I'm not? So like to me it's like scheduled anything. The inability to have chaos reign is something that saps joy for me.
Yeah. But I have a question for you though. Do you think the world can operate this way? I think like some people can do that, and those people are called artists. But I don't think the whole world can be artists.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so like historically, humans worked for like what 2 to 4 hours a day. Like in even in like the Middle Ages, like they would go out, they would till their thing, and then they would like dirk around for like a lot of the day. And so and like these were not artists. These were, like farmers and hunters and such. I mean, like how long can you hunt a boar actively in a day? Like, I mean,
No.
there's a lot of sitting around, but like if you take all of that time, like how much of it is actively like doing the thing and how much of it is passively doing the thing. So yeah, I actually think we can all do it, honestly. Like I'm not saying that like necessarily because like you could theoretically have a 2-hour shift at a call center and then like just keep rotating between people all day. Like you don't even like and I know that because when you go to like volunteer at a political campaign, you like are sitting in a call center for 2 hours and then someone else comes in and fills your seat. So like I don't know, like they seem to well, they don't seem to have their stuff together, but like if they can do it, if like they can figure out how to make 2-hour volunteer shifts work, then like surely the smartest humans in the world could do so. But you don't agree?
No, I think that it's new to me, so that's expanding my imagination of this. I've always had this belief that the artists are the ones who can do it, but this idea of sitting around and hunting boar, I like that. I'm taking that
But
in.
I think that it requires you to think about time differently. So I actually think like artists in general work way longer hours than like normal people. Like they like for way less money usually than like normal people. But like when you take I'm going to shift slightly and just be like when you take the elements of a writing of an artist career, like you are performing services and making products. You are then taking those products and services into the open market and getting paid an amount of money for them, hopefully more so than what you put out. And like
Yeah.
I fundamentally that is what we're all doing, not just in creatively, but like everyone is sitting here everyone who is not working 9 to 5 is sitting here saying, this is my list of products. This is my list of services. This is the market that I'm putting into. And now like I'm expecting money from that. And then I'm going to put money back into it to hire more people. So, um, I think that it is an entrepreneurial thing. More, it's not something I spent all the holidays with my two families who worked. They all like work full-time jobs, like teaching and that's a couple of them are retired, but like they don't understand how to like do this concept. But if you are going to undertake this thing that we're all doing, this like entrepreneurship, whether it's creative or not, like I think fundamentally one of the things that artists get wrong is and I mean no disrespect with that, but they got their head up their asses that they work differently than everyone else and they just like it's not it's fundamentally the same thing. It's just like a generally cooler thing than most people do.
I think that's a good point. I do think that artists do tend to think that it's just the art and they work differently, but that's actually what keeps them stuck. And I think that's what you talk about a lot, that there's all these other things that we need to do.
Right.
It's just
Well,
that we
I'm
don't.
and
I was
yeah,
just gonna
sure.
say, just we just don't need to do that 9 to 5, but not
Right.
necessarily in that order.
Well, and I think that it is this so I'm big on radical acceptance these days, which is like not thinking things are good, just being like, this is the way things are. And like you radically accept your life, yourself, other people, that this is the way they are. You don't have to like it, you just have to accept reality. And I think that a lot of times, especially with writers and creatives and people that I work with, they fundamentally think and have been told that they're different for so long that when it comes to something like building a brand, like what is your brand? People will be like, I don't have a brand. And I'm like, Everyone has a brand. Your grandmother has a brand. She's like, yeah, my grandmother has a brand. I don't. And I'm like, well, what are the list of things that you are that like you do? And they're like, oh, I like boating and like I make my own clothes and I like making tacos and like going to the farmer's market. And I'm like, baby girl, you got a brand. That's a brand. I don't know what to tell you. And like this like I am different mentality is like causes this friction that if you just were like, well, maybe I am just like making books, and maybe books are a product, and maybe products need to be on a market, and I need to make it in a way that people can consume it. Or I have to accept that no one's going to buy this thing and be okay with that. And again, we talked about this beforehand. I don't care if you make decisions outside of your best interest, but I really do care that you understand that it is outside your best interest. If you can, there are no bad decisions from good data, and there are no good decisions from bad data.
I like that. I see a lot of people come to Substack, artists especially, and they're like, okay, let's start this thing. This is what I do. This is my daily life. I'm documenting my journey. And they're different, they're unique, but they're the same as everyone else who's documenting their journey. They're not thinking of it in terms of brand or which was the struggle I had like over the 5 years that I've been writing Substack, like just defining what that brand is, or the way I think about it is what value I give to people. I think once you understand the value that you're giving to people, the change, what you're really helping them with, it becomes a lot easier. And you have to commit to that. Like I have a few Substacks, 3, and each one just commits to one thing that you come here and you get one change and that's it. And once you can do that, it's easy to grow, it's easy to scale. It's easy
Yeah.
to tell people what you're doing.
Well, I think that's definitely one way to do it. But I would say that like the other way and that's the quickest way. Because like we talk about like if you want to scale quickly, you want to go into a market, find where the arbitrage already is, which is like the difference between supply and demand. So like if there's 500,000 people who want an art book and there's only 2 art books, like you could make a killing in the art book market. But like so like you find the arbitrage and you go, "Oh, cool. I'm going to make this one thing." But the other way to do this is about building arbitrage for yourself, and it takes longer. But like that is where you have in the scale path model, like forests are like it's going to just and aquatics. It's just going to take you longer to do it because you're meshing all of this stuff up. But you're value stacking all of these things together into this like really unique puzzle. And the people that stay, like, don't go anywhere because you are the only one who's doing that mix of stuff. Like we talked earlier, like today was not the right day to change the author stack to Hapitalist. It's a Thursday. We're in the middle of a big promotion. I shouldn't have done that. But like, I just am fundamentally sick of only talking to of people coming to my site and being like, wait, I just heard you talk about art or about music or about like tech stuff. And like, what is this author thing? And it makes people bounce away. So
Yeah.
I was like, after I talked to Seth yesterday, I was like, this talk was mostly about music. If someone comes to the author stack and tries to find and tries to be like, wait, where's all the music stuff? I'm gonna be sorely disappointing them. But like if they are willing to like take this crazy leap into Hapitalist, they're probably not going anywhere because I am the human who's talking about Hapitalist right now. I'm like the
Right.
only one who has the scale path methodology. So the way to scale that thing is just to bring chaos from everywhere and know that most people are going to fall off, but the people that do tend to be stickier. It's exhausting her at the beginning, but over time, you don't have to service all of those brands. And there's no wrong way to do this. It's just like you should know what way works for you and then do that thing.
I like how you call it. I forget what you said just now. It was a new word you invented.
Well,
Um,
I just invented a bunch of words. I mean, I
like
said,
like easiest but not easiest. Anyway,
oh, Well, yeah, I mean, there's no maybe it was like there's no wrong way to do the thing. It just has to be the thing that works. Like we talked, what I find when you're trying to bring this back to joy and happiness is you find somebody that you admire and you're like, I'm going to do the things that they do, but they don't actually work the way that you work. Like they don't grow the way that you grow. Like they don't, they're like David Sedaris, for instance. My friend loves David Sedaris. She does not want to travel around and do speaking engagements. So like, there's no world in which like she can build like David Sedaris because David Sedaris made his living and made his bones traveling around the country doing live spoken word stuff and like writing for I forget if it's the New Yorker or like, well, he like writes magazine articles. And you're like, well, if you want to write your own thing and you don't want to go around the country to speak, guess what, sweetheart? You can't build like that. That's a terrible model. But because they're myopically looking forward, they're like, I gotta be like David Sedaris, so now I gotta go to 50 shows and I gotta do all this stuff, and they're miserable. Whereas if they just said, well, there is these 500 things I can do to grow, and there are these billion people who've already done it each of these ways, like I just have to find the one that actually works for me instead of finding the person and following all of these things I hate, they would be happy.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's what what level are you at? Because a lot of people come to capitalist scale path stuff, ecosystems back before then, and they're like, I have nothing that works, but I'm for sure a desert. And I'm like, but like the thing about ecosystems and all of this stuff is like, if you were that thing, the things that are inside that bucket would make you grow. And if you're doing all desert stuff and you're not growing, do you see the disconnect here, my friend? And people like look at you blankly and you're like, if you were doing a thing, like if it worked, it would be working. You know what I mean?
I get that. I tried so many different things with 10-minute artists, for example, and it really started working when I started to think about what I need to do. So like I tried putting effort into doing like one event a month, like a lot of energy into that,
Mm-hmm.
but it stressed me out more. I'm
Right.
sure it delivered the value that I wanted to deliver. I got like record sales, but it was not sustainable. It's not the way I like to work.
Right.
Whereas if I post every day, I feel happier about it and it grows in its own way as well. And without all the stress. A lot
Yes.
it's a lot happier.
Absolutely. And so, like, that tells me that, like, you probably shouldn't do a Kickstarter, right? Like, you probably aren't, or like, if you're going to do a Kickstarter, what you should do is do a 60-day campaign and just check out most of the time. This is what my ex business partner would do. And I thought it was crazy until, but like, she's a grassland who does the same, like, putting pennies in the jar every day. And she's like, when I'm only doing a 14-day campaign, there's a lot of pressure on every day. If it's 2 months, though, like I could check out for 2 weeks and like things will happen. I don't know what's going on, but like then I could check back in when I want to. And when you have that rhythm, you're like, okay, well, it's not that you can't do a Kickstarter. It's that like if you do it the way that I do it as like a Tundra who like likes short attention bursts and then to like go nap for 3 months, it's going to be a bad idea. I think you're not going to have a good time doing it. But if instead you say, okay, I know that these are the strengths, these are the things that grow me, nourish me. So I'm going to do those things. You may not ever have a six-figure Kickstarter, but the thing is, almost nobody will ever have a six-figure Kickstarter. So, like, you might as well do the thing and grow in the way, and then say, I know these 5 things work for me. So I need to find a platform like Substack. Makes complete sense why you would have success here, because that's the exact thing that Substack is. Like Substack is like play every day, do a thing every day, put little thing, and like why a subscription would work for you is because subscriptions are about like pulling one person every day or every 2 days, or like getting each one when they're ready, as opposed to I was more like I need to aggregate attention into a point, and then by pushing on that point, I would get the attention and money would flow. But then once the interest died down, I needed to get out quickly. So once we know how we grow and how we enjoy our lives, like we can bring joy to the business and the money happens.
I like that. Can I what would you advise like artists on Substack? How would you help them figure out what path they should take?
Sure. Okay. So there's a couple of questions. First, if you go to hapitalist.com, assuming that the site is up, because we're in that weird like domain thing in the first 24, 48 hours where it's like ups half the time and down, and assuming that it's up right now, there's a quiz button. You can take the scale path quiz or the ecosystem quiz. But I would say, I usually start with scale paths, and I would say, okay, so think about the last time you had a positive feedback loop.
Mm.
So, or like the kinds of positive feedback, by positive feedback loops, I mean like you took a 5-minute tweet and like you got like 50 likes from it and 30 subscribers. Just like it's this exchange of energy is the most important thing. It's like, how can you so like energy can come in a million different forms. Money is energy, time is energy, effort is energy, um, distance is energy, like whatever. There's like a billion different kinds of energy. But like when you use 1 unit of your energy, what is the thing that you feel like, wow, that was really easy? Like, wow, I could do this all day because like every time I put $1 in, I get $10 back. And it's really hard to think about this because energy almost never comes back in the way that it is given. So on Substack, you're giving your time, your wisdom, and you are hoping that the energy you get back are subscribers and money. So, like, you're not giving money to Substack and getting money back. That's like a Facebook ad. In Facebook ads, like you give money and money comes back if you do a conversion ad. So, what we're trying to do is figure out this return of energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I like that.
Uh, so, from there,
And I
I would
think
s oh, go for it.
there's this element of scale, which is what makes Substack valuable. So I write a short piece every day,
Mhm.
but and that's where the convergence of energy is. I sit down, maybe I take 4 hours to read and like see what hits and what's inspiring today and turn that into a prompt, and it becomes like a short little paragraph. So
Right,
I just spent 4 hours getting inspired so I could inspire someone for 2 minutes so they
right,
can take a 10-minute action. So there's an arbitrage there in the sense that I spend the 4 hours and you just have to spend the 10
right,
minutes.
right,
But because there's 10,000 of you, then that makes sense. It makes it
right.
worthwhile.
Exactly. So you mentioned arbitrage. So we talked about arbitrage a little bit. One of the kinds of things is as an arbiter. That's one of the scale paths. And a scale path and an arbiter would be able to. They're really good at virality. So I would say to somebody first, usually, and like, okay, like think about social media. Do you have a really easy time figuring out what like the hit thing of the day is? And then being able to mimic or bring in that conversation and kind of ride that wave. About 40% of people are pretty good at that. I'm terrible at it, but like so like that's my question to you. Like, do you feel like you are good at like analyzing the thing at the day and then hopping on it quickly and then like moving between subjects all day every day?
Not really. I actually like to avoid trends as much as possible. I find most of my success during holiday seasons, for
Mm,
example,
sure.
because I'm not talking about holiday stuff. So to say, for example, Thanksgiving,
Mm,
all the artists have checked out from promoting themselves or whatever. For me, it's just Tuesday.
mhm.
And so because there's arbitrage there, because everyone has checked out, then you have a lot more attention. And everyone who's checked out is paying attention.
Right, exactly. So, like, because you keep saying these data heavy terms, it makes me think you're like a more spotlighter. So, but like, I'm just gonna put that aside so we can like rule out the other ones. We've already ruled out the launcher. They're the ones that like are small, like they do things at a short
If
time frame. You already don't like that. Um, uh, what about collaborator? Is another one that's really that's usually very popular with artists because they're so like do you find your biggest successes come from working with somebody else to put a new project together, or is it more somebody spotlighting your work and somebody and you spotlighting someone else's work? Like
like for 10-minute artists, I do my own thing and I like that. But I also have a couple of collaborations and those are going well too. So I
yeah,
like both.
okay. But maybe I'm not. Okay, so you had said earlier that you were an evangelist. And so like
Eh,
so this is so an evangelist is um
Maybe I
growth by
can,
contagion.
yeah,
It's like
based
a
on your
yeah, go for it.
based on your description that I read, evangelist was someone who like, hey, you can do it too. And so that's where I thought that's
Oh,
the
so what I mean by that is okay. So evangelist growth by contagion is if you tell 10 people, those 10 people will tell 10 people that will tell 10 people that will tell 10 people, and that loop keeps coming back to you and growing out. I think of like if you put a pebble in the ocean, like it drops down and or a lake, a still lake, not an ocean, the opposite of an ocean. And it like ripples out all over the time and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so most people think that they are an evangelist, especially when they're artists. But my question is, can you hand a book or something to somebody and there's like a game of telephone that comes around and suddenly like a week later you're like wow, where did all 10 of you come from? And like it was all from like word of mouth.
Yeah, I think I've been doing that since I was a kid.
Awesome.
Like
Well, like yeah, go
I
for it.
would be the one who brings the yo-yo to school and then everyone's playing yo-yo for that week.
Yeah, so that is a great example actually because like that is evangelism at it is you showed yo-yo to 2 people or 5 people and those 5 people were like this is so cool, I have to share it with my best friend and I have to share it. So it's that energy that builds up that like oh my god, this is what evangelists are really good at is being like oh my god, that's me, you're me. So now I have a way to talk about me more. And so I can now show someone else a way to make me more me. So it's not really about necessarily you. It's about, as you said,
Exactly.
like you can do it. But really, it's about you can do it. And that energy means you have to share. Like the reciprocal energy is really like you like often it's like this with one person, like, and then it stops there. But like the energy is so builds up in them so much that they have to share it with somebody else. Like they don't have a choice. So for people like this, like um arc teams or street teams, like like people like having little teams is really effective for them because those teams then are like all the team has to do is show a small number of other people and then the it like expounds out. So usually what people do when they have an arc team or a street team is like they have these people really excited, but like those people show this little group of people other, and then it dies. And they're like, why isn't this working? I'm not getting the thing. And it's because like they're not creating this energy where like the domino keeps falling.
Yeah, I
Does
like
that
that.
sound like you?
It does. But the other aspect of it, we talked about data earlier, is I do think about data a lot. And so I try and reduce friction
Mm-hmm.
wherever it is, removing bottlenecks. And I think that's also important.
Sure. Okay. So
So that's the
that,
thing I really focus on.
yeah, yeah. So that, as you mentioned, is part of our ecosystem model more because we talked about scale paths, and scale paths are how you grow. But like ecosystems are how you operate. Like a scale path changes can like you could just do whatever you want tomorrow. But like your ecosystem, when you think about an ecosystem, it's like how you're built. It's like you're probably not going to change that part of you that like is data heavy, that's trying to optimize stuff, that's thinking long term, that's like doing these little dink and dunk. Like those are parts of like you. And so like that's where the grassland part that we talked about before we came on really is effective because um you are now saying, okay, my base operating system, and I say operating system because I think it's easy to be like, you have a computer, it runs one of like 5 or 6 operating systems, and that operating system doesn't preclude what you do, but it does preclude certain programs that don't run on that operating system. So, like maybe you can't use Procreate because you have a Windows PC, or you can't use Affinity because you have a Mac. I don't know if Affinity is available on the Mac or like whatever. But like there's going to be you everyone has a desktop, right? Everyone has a monitor. Everyone has this back and forth thing, but what we put on it and how we get to the point that we can make the same thing is different. And so so what you're saying about operating system, what you're saying about like I enjoy doing things systematically and like finding art and finding inconsistencies, and I like doing 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and like I like to do little things at a time, is like either a desert or a grassland because they're both. And like you can also be a savanna, which is a combination of both because there's blended ecosystems. So the question is like, you now are a grassland, which means you like these like small actions that lead to results over time. You're not going to do a flashy thing. And you're an evangelist, so you're like, that's how I grow. So the question is, how can I make these little things such that they get shared and people and they get infused with so much energy that people can't help but share it, as opposed to somebody who's like a collaborator, the same exact thing as you, but a collaborator. I would say, okay, so what you're really good at is mapping trends and where things are going. Now let us find you a person in a different ecosystem and scale path that's having a moment. I think about like shoe collaborations they do all the time and be like, okay, let's you use your strength, that collaborator who's like having a moment as a is have use their strength and use that to like make a new product, as opposed to a spotlighter where I would say, okay, so spotlighters are all about showcasing like they have like a topic that they love, and theirs all about finding other places where they can go out and like be on podcasts and do guest blogs and do all of this stuff, and then they can become like the thought leader of and lead people back to their hub, which is a like the best, most comprehensive hub of like that topic. And so there's like this is what I say was like no wrong answer. It's just like if you don't know how you operate, if you don't know how you grow, if you only know half of that equation, and then that's not even including the levels or any of the other stuff, then you're going to it's going to break. But if you can figure out, this is how I operate effectively, most efficiently. This is how I grow most efficiently. Now all I have to do is say, I'm a grassland. I'm a evangelist. I'm a level 3. So my goal then is to take all of the things that are like weighing me down that aren't these two things and cut them so I can, or delegate them or automate them, and then figure out how to do this, double down on these two things. So I would be like, how much product led growth stuff are you studying, Adam?
Product and growth stuff.
Yeah, like
Actively.
like actively, like Dropbox, Slack, these like other companies that grow by the same
Oh,
viral
definitely.
contagion that you are.
So before was an artist, I worked in a startup. So a
Mhm.
lot of it was like creating the product and everything around that ecosystem. So I've read a lot, learned a lot, went to Stanford for like a crash course.
Mhm.
And so definitely I apply a lot of that in what I do. But
And
what
it
I'm
makes
really getting from you,
yeah, go for it.
what I'm really getting from you, which makes a lot of sense, is this idea that you shouldn't be doing all the things. And I think that's where a lot of people fall into a trap. Like, I don't particularly enjoy like going on podcasts and things like that. I do them once in a while and they do help, but that's not a strategy I would think of as like something that I would initiate.
Right.
Whereas, and so what I've gotten from you so far is this idea of just thinking of the little pieces that I do, making them more shareable. Like I can do that. I can make them 2, 3, 4, 10 times more shareable.
Yeah, I
Sure.
mean, the more you can have
That's
somebody, yeah, like the more you can do that, the better it will be. But and this is very interesting because like I do love myself a podcast, and you can tell our energies are very different because
yeah.
like my energy on this podcast, because it is my primary growth lever, is, I mean, this is how I talk, Adam. Like, I don't talk in the way that I've been talking for the last 45 minutes. Like, I do get animated often, but like in general, like I'm considerably more subdued. But
Okay.
I learned how to modulate my voice so that it's more attractive to people who are listening. Higher voice register gets people find more pleasant than a lower register. I animate my hands and such more because like when people tend to not tend pay more attention when things are happening. You can see my background is very like bright and lively. So like I have designed my life and my persona when I am in public in such a way to maximize being on blogs, podcasts, and lives. And if you don't do very well on these kinds of things, like maybe you're listening and you're like, oh, I was wondering why, like, I don't have as much success as other people do. It's like those people are practicing the sound bites that they know are going to draw the right people in, and they are coming back to the same points. We talked about Seth talked about Cory Doctorow yesterday. And like that is a person who's made his living being spotlighted on by other people and making these little shareable bits that like people can like that drive people back to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So valuable. I think that was a clip.
There we go. Okay, so
Super
the third thing is levels, because like we didn't talk about the levels a lot because so people can get screwed up on their scale path and be growing the wrong way. They could be operating the wrong way, or they could be doing things that hamstring them based on where they are in their business. So there's 5 levels in Hapitalist. And like the first one is level 1. You are so overwhelmed you can't do anything. And like the key to getting out of level 1 to level 2, all you have to do is anything. 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 Literally anything that you do will get you to, because level 2 is I'm doing all the things and none of them are working. Well, if you're doing the things and none of them are working, you're not in. If you're doing even one or two things that aren't working, you're in level 2. The where people get stuck the most is in level 3, which is what we were talking about. And like to me right now, like this is the most important thing for you, because you have these a few paths that are working, but you also have a bunch of other stuff that like are not working, that maybe you feel obligated to do, or maybe people have told you to do. And uh, so they're weighing you down. You think they're like, oh, well, who cares if I spend 2 hours doing this a week? But that's 2 hours that you could be using for your better leveraged action. And like this goes back to our Puritan work ethic, because we are drilled in that from childhood that work is hard. Work doesn't feel good. So whenever we feel guilty or feel like, oh, things are slowing down, instead of looking at the thing that we are uniquely good at, like for you, evangelism, doubling down, 10xing that thing, we're like, okay, what is hard? I'm going to do that thing. But the thing is, it's hard because it doesn't work. Because if it worked, it would be working. Not necessarily on day one, but like, yeah, like, you've gotten to this point, you've gotten to 40 years of your life. Like, how you feel about social media because like you've used social media. You know how it feels to be on a podcast or like be at the front of a room and like whether people connect to it. We've all had these experiences. So like we know that we may not know to the level that it works, but like we've all collaborated on other projects and like either it has gotten you to the next level or it's dragged you down. We've all like had a small group of friends and we know if the things that we say like get amplified out or not. Like we've all launched something, at least like a lemonade stand or something in our lives, and like we know whether that feels like a good thing, a place to spend our time. I'm not saying that something done 20 years ago should dictate what you do now, but it can on some level dictate what you do next, what you try next. And we don't follow those things in ourselves because those things feel easeful, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
if
talk
we
about it.
yeah, go for it.
I I talk about it all the time. It's really doing the easy things that bring the most leverage. Like with my artist friends, it's like we don't do some of the things because it feels like we're cheating. It feels too easy. And we want to do the hard thing, like what you're saying. But if you can figure out what are the things that are easy for you, like writing every day is easy for me. A lot of people go like, how do you do it? Like, how do you do this like every single day?
Yeah.
But that's easy.
Yeah, I mean,
So figuring out
for
what's easy for you.
me, like social media is impossible. Um, also, like ads is annoying. I can do ads fine, but like they're really annoying to me. Like I like this. I like collaborating on new projects. Like those are the things. So there's probably something in your life, if you're listening, that people are like, wow, how do you do that? It seems so hard. And you're like, I don't know. It's just like that's your magic trick. And you know what magicians do when they get a magic trick that works? They keep doing the trick. They keep doing it forever. Like David Blaine does the same trick. Chris Angel, Mind Freak. Like he knows the thing that freaks people's minds out. And like there's like a list of like 8 or 10 things that you can just go back to the well for. And you always know it's going to work. It's like do you know Wally Wood? It's a Wally Wood's 20 panels that always work. So 21
Oh
panels that
yes, I
always work.
do.
It's like,
Yes.
guess what? If you're ever stuck in a comic, just go do one of those. Just do one of those. Like they always work. And in the same way, like in our business and in our life, we we and every business that I've ever known that worked, they always had a magic trick. For mine, it's Kickstarter. It's like, hey man, if I can pull together a Kickstarter, I know I can make 5 grand. It used to be shows, but like you've got to have the magic trick. And you've got to that magic trick has to be able to be like, oh crap, I'm $2,000 short on my rent this month. I guess I'm driving to Nevada to do a show. That actually happened to me. And I knew that like that was the thing. Like, oh crap, there's a $5,000 budget shortfall. I guess I need to run a Kickstarter to like pay my artist this month. And like that's going to happen, especially at the beginning of your career. And like you are not cheating by actually, yes, you are cheating, and it's okay to cheat. Like every great business cheats, just hopefully not in the terrible ways that other businesses do, but like everyone has a magic trick, and your magic trick also is, wow, I can't believe that you did that. um,
I think artists do struggle to do the same thing over and over again. I think they call it the Da Vinci
mhm.
effect or something. Like, I've done it, now I want to do the next thing. And you just keep hopping from thing to thing, but and you don't build on the things that are successful. I think like having the magic trick is you're in the range of what that trick can be, but I don't think you have like the center. It's not like perfected, and you do need to like get closer and closer to the center of
Right.
how good that trick can be. Like polishing a
Absolutely.
joke over years, over decades.
And I would say, okay, that so in order to enjoy something, two things need to happen. One, you have to like that thing, and two, you have to get a positive feedback loop from it. I don't care how much you love a dog. That if you choose your leg every time you look at it, you're gonna like it less than if it didn't do that. And I don't care how much you like, I don't know, let's say you hate lifting boxes. There's no number of boxes that you could lift if to like that thing. So if there's a thing that you keep spiraling around, it's probably in the realm of a magic trick and you like to do that thing. So for me, it was like I never wanted to be the Kickstarter guy. I wanted people to love my fiction. And the minute that I was like, you know what? Money's money, man. Like, I'm just gonna lean into it. Suddenly, magically, like money flowed
Yeah.
because I was no longer blocking myself. So there's a couple of tricks that I have. The one is so when we're talking about when you're talking about novels, the number one thing you need is a signature series. Signature series is like 10 books, a million words. But like, I don't like writing the same characters for like all of that time. So a couple of tricks that I came up with was like in my first big series, every book is a different lead character. So it
Right.
was like in the same world with roughly the same rules, but because it was so big, expansive, and long, like, I could do almost anything in it whenever I wanted. Um, the other was, if you make a bunch of point of views at the same every time you get bored, you just switch a point of view. The third was I was writing 2 series at the same time, so I was like, whenever I got sick of this series, I just like, "Oh, well, this book's coming up now." Whenever I got sick of this one, this series. So, like, you can stack these things kind of in ways that trick your brain. Because this is the thing, our brains are as smart as they are dumb. And, like, it's very easy to trick our brain into bad habits, but it's also very easy to trick our brain into good habits. And those are some of the ones for writers that I was like, "Oh, well, I don't know. I can keep coming back to this try. I know how to trick my brain each time by performing these magic tricks on myself. And sometimes you're the one that has to be tricked."
I like that.
In fact, almost always you're the one that needs to be tricked because success is a trailing indicator. Like we think that success, that joy is going to come from success, but success only comes from joy because if you get successful without joy,
Mhm.
it's not going to be success. It's going to be work and it's going to be lower paid work that you hate that has no benefits.
I've
Um,
said this recently, like, you think that when you get the book deal, that's gonna be the thing that makes you, feel like, "Yay, I did it," or when you finish the book. Actually, no. Not even when you sell the book, not even when you're in the bookstore and promoting the book. The thing that makes doing the book meaningful is just getting up every day and getting to do the thing,
yeah,
and
exactly. That's that
that's where the joy comes from.
for sure.
And you don't actually need anyone to hire you to get up every day and do the thing. And that's really what I talk about or write about. It's just get up and do the thing. And if you keep doing the thing enough, you earn a credibility, and that credibility is what makes people offer you the book deal,
Yeah.
etc.
Well, it's that thing. I was talking about it yesterday, but like, when did Taylor Swift become famous? If it was her first album, like she wasn't famous before her first album, right? Like, no one knew her. She was 15. But like the release of that album isn't when she became famous. She became famous making that album because she had to make all of the choices inside that album. And all of those choices led to her getting nominated. And then that led to her getting the second thing. And each time that so when we're thinking about like success, it can only come in arrears because no one is ever successful until the thing comes out that like makes them successful. But like they had to do the work to get successful, to put that together before they ever got success. So it literally can't happen the other way. Yeah.
About Taylor Swift, just an interesting point. I studied her career, and she's actually one of my inspirations in how I think about things and how I work. And I think she's made many good choices, one after another, after another. Talk to my wife about it all the time. She almost doesn't make bad choices, and so you don't have that up and down. It's just always up.
See,
Like
but what about like
one of her
Reputation and like some of her ones that went down that got her a lot of blowback?
yeah. So how I think about it is she's just collecting audiences. And that's her skill. Her skill
Yeah,
is collecting audiences from different people. So Reputation might hurt the true fans, but you're bringing in a whole new audience, and then
yeah,
it's those kind of decisions of just adding to what's growing.
yeah. I mean, what I think is great is that once she releases an album, she can now use that album to influence her future albums. And like that's for like I think of this my big nonfiction series. Like I wrote a book on capitalism and a book on how publishing is broken, not because I thought they'd be massive sellers, but because in order to get Capitalist, now whenever I talk about Capitalist, I can reference those books. And it's like, well, I don't know why. What did you think you were going to get? I wrote a book called How to Thrive as a Writer in a Capitalist Dystopia, and another one called Publishing is Broken, but it doesn't have to break us. Like, this is an evolution. And how I would modify the thing you said is I think Taylor Swift is the best person maybe in the world at taking what could be a career ending thing like Reputation could have ended her career and turning it into a positive and turning it into a thing that like gets her forward because before Reputation she couldn't make Reputation songs. Now she can write down, she can like use a harder bass, like she can do the thing, she can do these like, and even if that album did not sell well, same thing with like Evermore or Folklore. It's like forever and ever and ever for the rest of her life, she can like make Evermore songs on any album that like makes sense for it to happen. And that is where I think a great if you have problems doing the same thing, not doing the same thing, sometimes you just have to release the thing and it has to bomb because in order for the next thing to work, that bomb has to have happened. And like, do you want, you don't want anything to bomb, but I think of the Deliver Me From Home movie, the Bruce Springsteen one. And the whole movie was about him making Nebraska as he was making Born to Run. And he's like, I can't make Born to Run yet. And I'm like, of course you not. You need Nebraska. Nebraska has to come out before Born. Like he knew that there was a gap between his previous thing and Born to Run that had to exist in the world so that he could make Born to Run the hit that it was. And often we're like, this doesn't feel right. I don't know. Like, what do we do? Like, what should I do? Can I do this thing? And I always ask people, like, is there a gap in your career where like you need your audience is here, you need them here, and like there was there a bridge that sometimes it just needs to bomb. And there's nothing wrong with a bomb because those bombs let you do more thing and have more freedom.
I like that. And it's not necessarily a bomb. Sometimes you just need to do the things. Like the type of book always wanted to write was like a how-to drawing book,
Mhm.
but I don't have the credibility to do a how-to drawing book. But
Right.
now that I've illustrated 15 books, now I can start having that conversation. So
Right.
that's like the kind of things you have to do in sequence.
Yeah, so I was doing, and then we're working towards wrapping up. I'm gonna say it so that I know it too. And Monica always used to talk about how when we first started doing the Kickstarter book, I told her I'd been doing Kickstarter, trying to talk about Kickstarter with people for 5 years before, like she licensed all my work. And I was like, Monica, you don't understand. I need someone to validate this who is not me in order for people to like somebody has to take a chance and say Russell's not crazy. And that person has to have credibility. The minute that someone gives me credibility, it's going to give people the ability, like the permission to be like, oh, let me look at it. But because I don't have the permission, because I'm out on the outside, I can't I can't get any traction. Like to the point that there's this big Facebook group called 20 Books to 50K. And I spoke at their conferences after Monica and I started working together. Before then, I was banned from their group. Like I couldn't even like post in there. And I went from that to like, and Monica, after we started working together, was like, wow, you really were right. The minute that someone validated you, all of the other things fell into place. And I'm like, yes. So sometimes maybe you do need that external validation, but you better be real sure and working. And then the question is, how do you get that thing? But there's probably, if you're hitting a roadblock, sometimes it's mental, sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes there's a literal block in the road and you need to go around that block. Maybe you don't go down that street yet. And then you come back to it when you have all of the pieces that you gathered.
I think speaking on that is you also need to leverage the validation that you do have. Like the first book I got didn't pay a lot, but I used it to leverage to get an
Mhm.
agent, and then the agent leverage being able to get bigger publishers and so on.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you have to be able to say it. You need to say that I'm an award-winning illustrator or whatever.
Right.
And it's not fun to do, but it's what you got to do it.
But you are like, you will never be a award-winning illustrator if you don't make the thing that gets you the award, right? Like you
Yeah.
have to make the thing, and then that thing has to be not released at a reputable publisher enough that that award shows will even consider it because not every publisher gets nominated for awards. Like there's a like you often need to be at a public award kind of publisher in order to get considered for awards. It's like, are you at that publisher? Then were you submitted? Then did they like it? Then what's all of those things have to happen, but none of it happens until the book is done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen until you start.
Absolutely. I love it, man. All right, let's get your final word. Do you have any final words and then where we can find you and then we'll say goodbye?
Sure. I write a I don't have a final word. I write a Substack about about creating an artist diary, which I think is less troublesome than a journal and not as intimidating as a sketchbook. So, like for anyone who just wants to start, I help people get started.
Awesome. Where can they find it?
Oh, 10minuteartist.com.
I love it. Great, great, great. And if you like this, go to joyfulgrowthclub.substack.com. We have more this month. I've got if you like the scale path stuff, I'm doing the frictionless growth challenge, my 5-day challenge next week. So you can join in on all the fun, and hopefully we'll see you there. Bye,
I like this
everyone.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you.